welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. And we're so super excited for you to be joining us yet again today for yet another exciting episode. And today we have yet another extra special guest. We have the lovely Debbie Elicksen. Hello, Debbie.
Hi.
It's so wonderful to have you on the show today and to be showcasing yet another amazing, incredible human being. For those of you that don't know Debbie, she's this an amazing, lovely Canadian lady who has done quite a number of firsts and quite a number of things that many people throughout her career have told her that she couldn't do. Everything from working for the Canadian National Hockey League for over 20 years, and she's been involved in sports and involved as a journalist and as a writer, and has written over 17 books of her own. And she's a pioneer in many of those different ways that we really do think of women and leadership and pioneering. But before I tell you everything, please, Debbie, share some of your story and your background. How did you come to be doing Canadian hockey and all of these amazing other things throughout your career?
Well, when you're born in Canada, hockey is a religion, right? So the National Hockey League is everybody's dream. Every boy dreams to be playing in the National Hockey League. And I dreamt of working in it. So when I was old enough to kind of formulate, I actually wanted to be a Juliet Prowse, a dancer, a Broadway dancer of all things. But so... And of course, football, I've always enjoyed football, but hockey was the one thing we used to play out in the backyard. And in the winter, we would just clear off enough space just to play. We didn't necessarily make a rink or anything, or we'd take our skates and our sticks to the rink to play. And I did all that too as a young girl. So it's just you're kind of raised with it. So I figured I was going to be a PR director at first. So, but it didn't work, I didn't get there in hockey, but, and you have to kind of go through a lot of hoops before you get there. So it didn't just happen overnight, I can tell you that. But when I was young, there's no way girls, I don't even think there wasn't any women working in, like, you can see women in those positions. So when you don't see people in those positions, you don't know if it's possible or not. So I was gutsy enough to try anyway.
Wow. And that's a big part of when I was reading through your story and looking at your background and the things that you've done, that courage and that sense of, well, people are saying I can't do this, but I'm going to go do it anyway, which is really, really admirable and must have been, like you're saying, there were no role models for what you were doing at the time.
Well, I was cocky too, because I figured at 11 years old, I knew more about hockey than most of the men did. So, and that ego was created when a lot of the junior hockey team players used to board down the street, and they'd have parties down there, and they used to call me to settle bets. So I figure, well, obviously I know more than most people about hockey. So that's where that kind of, it was ego at first. And then, when you get the door slammed, and of course, I couldn't even get a brochure for a hockey school because my name was Debbie. So once I changed my name to Derek, just for the purpose of getting information about hockey schools and whatnot. Not that I ever went to hockey school, but just wanted the pamphlet because I wanted to learn more about hockey. Then I got lots of brochures kept coming to my mailbox. So it was funny.
Isn't that funny? And it also shows in an interesting way how far we've come now and how things have really started to change. But you must now, having had such a background where being a pioneer and doing things, like changing your name to Derek, what then now with that lifetime of experience of doing all of this, What would you say success means to you? What do you really look at and think, yeah, this is what success is for me?
Oh, the people. None of it would be possible without the people well, meeting the right people. Like the only reason I got to work in the NHL was because I was introduced by a pen pal who introduced me to Stan Fischler, who is the hockey maven, and he helped open that door. His wife was the original pioneer in the sense that she actually had to sue the National Hockey League and the New York Rangers to get access to the press box in New York. So when I came around, there were very, very few women involved in the game. I mean, I was out west in Canada, so I did not see anybody in my side, but there were probably the odd one in the east side of the country. But it's the people who help either open the door for you, cheerlead you when you're there, and while you're there, you meet really incredible people that you can continue the relationship long after you're gone, which is even the best part.
That's fabulous. And I really hear about the people, because it is the people that make the experiences of success and help you to get through some of those more challenging times, like being the only female or getting access to something. I was reading again recently about some of the Hollywood stars that, especially when African Americans were first trying to get into some venues, performers, and some of those big Hollywood stars, would say, I'll only perform here if so-and-so can come as well. And it was really the people again, the friends and the supporters that helped to, give access to people that back again in those times were excluded in some what looks very strange ways now.
Yeah, there might still be a little bit of it for some communities. I mean, let's face it, it isn't as diverse as we'd like to see it, but it's getting there. The streaming platforms, like in Hollywood and in that side of the creative business, the streaming platforms have really helped open up playing field, and also the fact that we have this platform that we're on right now and we can create our own media. That also helps, and that's the best part about the internet, bringing the whole world together.
Isn't it?
It's so boring if you're just staying in your own backyard.
It is. It really has enabled connections in a way that we've never really had like this before, globally and locally. You can really find people now, and I think this will be, as the years go by and I ask this question about what does success mean, there's going to more and more be, some people are going to start to say more and more things around, well, being able to connect with like-minded people wherever they are in the world through these types of mediums, because technology is accessible now in ways that it's never been previously.
It's true. And I mean, the fact that we're here on this platform, and lately I'm meeting a lot of people from Australia, which is amazing. And hence why I'm wearing this. I'm just going to say a shout out to Andy Dowling from Lord, because he connected with me on Twitter and I'm a big metal fan. So so yeah, it bridges the world together. And I mean, it's the best. I can live on, well, I do live on the internet and do most of my work on the internet. So it's just, I can't even imagine not being able to meet people from different countries and have the diversity in my circles that I do now. Just can't imagine.
And with that, because we are moving, and it's a great way to segue into life so much more now, and connection so much more now through the internet. And I know that with being a pioneer and really going into many things offline through your earlier career, but also I guess I'm sure that you're doing similar things now online and through the internet. So what would you say are some of the tips or tools or suggestions that you have for people how they can be successful as well in using the internet and using this forum, and perhaps going into areas that might be a little bit excluded still on the internet or in some of the areas of technology. I know, for example, women are still not very much in IT or in coding. But, for women out there that do want to get into it or do want to be an entrepreneur and do a startup, etc., what sort of tips or suggestions would you have for them about how to create that successful mindset?
Oh, well, and it's the playing. When I started out, I didn't have a degree or anything. Back then, you didn't really go to college in my neighborhood, and you just did the job. So I learned how to be a writer by writing. You still have to learn how to be a writer by writing. A journalism degree is not going to make you a writer. It's not going to get you a writing job. You can be a PR director without getting a master's degree in public relations. You can do a lot of things. If you don't have the funds, especially, oh my God, as long as you can afford an internet connection and a computing device, you can pretty much do anything. You can start anything. I mean, most of my companies, I've done like several books, and I just sat down on the computer trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it actually came after I did my first book. I was getting a few emails, which is really weird. It had nothing to do with my hockey book. It was, how did you get your book started? How did you publish your book? It was all these questions about book publishing. I thought, geez. And so then I sat down and thought, there it is. I'm going to be an expert on book publishing. So I made up a company name, and I just created a job description for myself, and I just went out and picked up some clients, and there you go. Didn't have any funds in the bank when I did it. It was just doing it. And I can say that's probably the same for just about every venture. You pick up freelance contracts along the way to pay for some things, but you do what you have to do, but you don't really need anything but an internet connection. I'm not saying it's easy. It's damn hard, but it opens that door up. So if you're really good at digital media, if you're really good at social media and Twitter and whatnot, you can be better. You can have a bigger following than Coca-Cola. You're on a level playing field with the big brands, because a lot of times some of those brands don't have very good, social media departments, and they might have, their last tweet might have been 2012. So you can be on the same platform. And for creatives, especially, like if you're a musician, if you're an actor, doesn't matter what you do, there's community everywhere on the internet, especially Twitter. Twitter is one of my happy places. It's there's a community there that is amazing, where you can just jump on, pick a hashtag, and find like-minded people to connect with, and maybe start up a Twitter space and start talking to some of them. It's once you start communicating with other people, you never know what's going to happen. And it always drove me crazy when somebody, especially when they're a small business, and then, well, I'm not going to connect with LinkedIn or Facebook. They say, well, I'm not going to connect with that person because I don't know them. Well, how the hell do you meet people unless you connect with them? So that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, unless they turn out to be a troll. But you don't know who people know. If you learn nothing else from this conversation, learn this. You do not know who people know. That person, as long as they create value to your feed or whatever, but you don't discount anybody because they might not have that job that you think is a good job. Maybe they're the janitor of a school and you don't think that's a worthy enough position, or they're a part-time cashier at Safeway. So if you don't think that's a worthy position, you don't know who they know. Their best friend's cousin could be the person that can hire you and change your life. You don't know. So
I
that's
think
my
that there's some really good insights there. That the first one around people, when technology did first start to move more and more into this realm of being online, people still, like you're pointing out, we're a bit inhibited or reluctant to meet people and reach out and say hello like you would with a handshake in real life, because they would feel uncomfortable, or I don't know that person. And I think that that's a really great reinforcement of, you don't know who they might know. And by reaching out and just having a conversation, it could open up opportunities for you in ways that you may not even know of, just by having conversations and talking about, hockey or whatever it might be. But it may help with your career and in other ways. The other part I loved that you were saying and talking about there was about the creativity. I remember I did an entrepreneur course a few years ago, and at the time he was talking about how he was looking at Facebook groups, and there was a group for people that collected, I think it was fruit stickers that they would stick on their fridges. And it was such a small little niche area, but through Facebook, they were able to meet like-minded people all over the world. Yep. So I decided to do my own experiment with this, and my name, Michele, has got one L in it. So I actually have a Facebook group set up for Michele's with one L around the globe. And it is so interesting because, like you said, you don't know where it's going to lead. I don't know where it's going to lead. But we are a community of Michele's that have never met, and we have similar stories because we've all had to essentially spell our name through our whole life. I'm sure you have as well with Debbie, because it's another name that you can spell in different ways. So we have all.
My other name is Dembisky, so yeah, I know.
So exactly for that. So I really wanted to reinforce what you were saying about, because to success for you, when you were talking about, there was about the people and the experiences you had with the people. So this point that you're raising around how to create a successful mindset by just reaching out and connecting with people on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and whether it's, something obscure like having the same first name, or stickers, or heavy metal, like you were sharing about your friend in Australia that's into heavy metal.
And I'm meeting more metal fans and people, and bands. So you don't know where it's going to go.
No.
Good music.
It's they used to say that there was like 6 degrees of separation, but I find as we build, they talk about it in sociology about it being tribes, and it's tribes now very much online of people with similar interests. So you're not kind of limited to the interests of the people that you're living around anymore. You can kind of really go deeper diving into something that you're very excited about, and then build that community globally, which is absolutely exciting. And yes, you don't know where that's going to go or what it will lead to.
Yeah. And even if it's an industry that you're thinking about dabbling in, or you're not sure of, screenwriting, say, which I am so a luddite at. I'm just branching out into something that's totally against my comfort zone and trying to dabble in screenwriting. So I'm part of a creative community in the film and theater industry. And I've been meeting UK. It's funny because you get these clusters of people who connect with you. And I've been meeting UK creatives, directors, actors, and there's one fellow who has a space every so often when he has a chance, and he holds a space for as long as he can do it. Sometimes it goes 3 hours, and he's a director. He's really good, and he'll hold a space and just answer questions of people who have questions about the industry, uh, getting into screenwriting, doing all the little tasks and how to do this and how to do that. And you just don't know who you're going to meet that way or who you're going to help, because somebody that's listening, you might have been the one person that really, you may never know, but that might, whatever you said in that broadcast might be that one person. You helped them so much that it was saved them from a lifetime of grief, or it just spawned their creativity in another direction. You never know.
That's so true. And I was sharing earlier before we started about David Bowie, and he created that persona of Ziggy Stardust, and people similar to him like Madonna and Lady Gaga that created the personas. But I'm sure that before they created those personas, they were meeting people like we're talking about. They were meeting very creative people, and that was helping to spark those ideas and to spark the creativity and the thoughts. And you never know. And that's part of the ethos behind this show, is that I don't know who will be watching this and when they'll be watching this, but my passion is about sharing these positive messages and positive stories about how to create a positive mindset in your own life, or a successful mindset in your life, in amongst a time when the majority of things that people are seeing online is quite negative or quite not as positive. And so, yeah, it's my mission and why I have fabulous guests like you on the show, to really keep bringing that focus back onto it's a choice point. And I want everybody to keep choosing to create successful mindsets, to go and work in hockey and be a journalist and be a screenwriter, and to dream big and to follow those dreams.
Yeah, and just, there's no right or wrong thing, and there's no time limit on any of this stuff. Like for educate, well, I guess there is if you want to be a professional athlete. Sometimes you can, the clock is ticking if you're 30 years old. But although with that in mind, I have a friend who started bull riding at 28, so there's that. But for the most part, even if you, like for kids coming out of school, even out graduating from high school, I think, me personally, I think it's better if they traveled and they just worked odd jobs for, a few years before deciding on going to school, or whether they're even going to go to school. Because like I say, you don't necessarily need a degree for a lot of things to do. You can just do it, create a business and just have at her. But you need something behind you to do it for credibility. But I mean, sometimes if you do that, then you're not going to waste all this money on an education that you wish you never had. So, well, I don't know if anybody wishes they never had it, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they'll go to school for 2 years and then they'll switch into something else. Instead of, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but I think I'm going to go into this instead. But if they worked for a couple of years and just kind of felt out these jobs, maybe in those industries, so they can decide whether or not they like them or not, and decide whether they want to pursue an education in that. That would be I mean, of course, I never had the luxury of being able to afford an education, but to go, I mean, I went to school since then, but when I graduated high school, it was just find a job.
And I think that, again, we're talking about, if we're talking about younger people, the TikTok generation. So I think that they're again the pioneering types, if you like, in that space, are the ones that are just giving it a go. And TikTok does create, and other areas of technology, Instagram, etc., create opportunities for people to do exactly what you're describing about experiment and check it out.
Yeah.
And in a similar way to that, reaching out for the handshake and just trying and just starting, that would be one of the biggest things that I would say. And even for older people, just experimenting and playing around. And when you were talking about Richard Branson and personalities being bigger than Coca-Cola and other brands, I think the statistics, I can't remember them exactly, but it was something like Richard Branson has, 30 million followers, and Virgin has like 1 million followers. So the branding of the individual is actually much stronger as a brand. So
yeah. And you know why? You want to know why that is? It's because people don't connect to a logo. They connect to a person. So that is why Richard Branson is the brand. And just for the record, Richard Branson didn't finish college. He dropped out of college. So, but I'm not advocating everybody drop out of college, but sorry, parents, but it's just, to me, it just, but the other thing too, you're not gonna, and this is, somebody thinks that they're gonna get a YouTube account and all of a sudden become a YouTube millionaire. Well, it's bloody hard work. It's bloody hard work just to get the first 100, connections, let alone getting the first 1,000 that allows you to actually qualify for monetization. And then after that, it's hard work. You gotta really work. It's a job, because they, you look at some of these guys that are on YouTube that are streaming every single day. They've got videos. They're scripted. They some of them are scripted. They plan them out. They plan what they're going to say. There's a lot of prep work that goes into it, and it's like a full-time job, and you can't take a break from it either. So you can schedule videos to post every day. But if you want to go away for 2 weeks, it can be very difficult, for some of those people. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to make money on the platform. Where most of these guys make their money is on branding.
It's all branding and sponsorships. Yeah. So
sponsorships.
Just to bring those points to a conclusion, though, I think that the point about giving it a go, whether you end up with it as a full-time job and it is hard work and it is something that you have to work at quite consistently to make successful, but that whole pioneering element, that you are a great example of somebody that, without the qualifications and without being born a male and without all of those kind of prerequisites in many ways, you've been able to show time and again throughout your career, whether it's been as a journalist or working with the hockey or writing books, whatever it's been, or as a business advisor, you've shown yet again that deciding that you want to do something and then going and doing it and working very hard at it to then get better and better. Anybody can pretty much do anything. And that's, I think, the key message for people today, that if you want to go and do something, and TikTok and other things have been examples that we've talked about that are more modern ways of just going and trying it and seeing where it goes, then I think that those are areas that anybody can, just reach out, give it a go, see where it goes. You don't know where it will go or who it might introduce you to, but just keep that creativity and expression. So Debbie, if people wanted to contact you and get hold of you, what's the best way to contact you?
There's lockerroomforgrowth.com is one of my websites, and the social links are at the bottom. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter as Book Publish 101. So, but if you go to lockerroomforgrowth.com, It's all my links to my social are there.
Fabulous. So lockerroomforgrowth.com. Excellent. And if you were to give some advice to your younger self, what do you think that you might say?
Save some damn money.
Save some money, really?
Yeah, so that you don't have to work so hard. Because when you start out, because you think, I don't know, and a lot of times you feel like you're not making that much money, but if you can put even just $10 away every 2 weeks, it adds up. And if you start that when you get out of high school, you're going to be in a damn good position when you're older, as long as you don't spend it all. but getting better at money, I think, is one thing that I wish I knew better when I was younger. I didn't have the role models in that area, and nobody taught it to you. So, I mean, now you can learn more about it, but it's still, when you're young, you don't ever learn.
Well, they can.
And don't get married.
And they can now with Facebook and YouTube and all of the other areas. But Debbie, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Fabulous. So thank you to all of the viewers. Again, we've had an interesting journey down from Canadian hockey, to writing 17 books, to all of the different areas that Debbie has shared. So it's been another interesting journey on to what is it that can create a successful mindset. But for now, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.